Hi, everyone. Welcome to another month of live crystal Q&A with me. I'm really happy that you're able to join me. One of the things I like about this opportunity that we carve out each month is that I really can get a sense of some of the questions that are arising for you when it comes to working with gemstones and crystals to support your own healing, and to be able to do that in a way that makes sense to you, kind of essentially meeting you where you're at. I'm really glad that you're able to join me. For those of you who are new to my work, I'm Mary Jo Feely. I'm the owner of Fourth Dimension Healing in Stillwater, Minnesota, which is my healing practice where I have a very active energy healing, Reiki, and crystal healing practice. And I also offer mentoring through my healing practice. And I'm also the director of the Center for Crystal and Healing Studies, which is my online school. In my online school, I have developed a number of courses that are specifically blended meaning that they're certainly self-paced coursework that you move through as your schedule and life allows. And then there are also times throughout the courses where you and I would connect together in person for mentoring and for deeper learning, individualized opportunity to be able to get some of those questions answered. And if there's time at the end, I will mention a little bit more about that. But for now, it is all about crystals. One of the things that I want to start with is actually a question that came in this past month. And it's not really a follow-up from last month, but we talked about working with crystals and how to help kids connect with gemstones and crystals for healing, because kids really do love rocks. And so I thought it might be really timely to just kind of start with this. So the question is, I have a 9-year-old daughter who has trouble sleeping at night. She loves crystals and has several in her room. How can I help her pick the right one so that she can sleep better? You know, that's a really great question. And it is easy to want to have, in some ways, a really kind of a concrete way to be able to get at which stone or crystal can support kids, or really us too. But in this case, it's this 9-year-old girl who's struggling with some sleep issues. I would say the best thing is for her to take a look at the stones that she has within her room and see which ones she is drawn to work with. And by work with, I mean, it may be that she wants to put it next to her bedside table or her bookshelf. Could be that she wants to slip it inside her pillowcase. It might be that she wants to carry it during the day so that it's kind of with her as a companion, as a friend and an ally, and that works great too. I have this stone I intentionally placed out here today to show you one of the concepts when it comes to working with stones and especially with kids. So this is really a beautiful piece of granite that I actually found in my yard a 3 years ago. And I really was drawn to this stone. And yes, it has quartz, and yes, it has some other minerals that are probably very likely to help with grounding and settling and clearing the energy field. I didn't pick it up for that, and I'm not attracted to this particular stone for its healing properties. I'm attracted to the stone because it's such an amazing stone. So I brought that out as an example that you could work with your kiddos. So here we've got a 9-year-old girl. She's got a bunch of gemstones and crystals in her room. Let's just go with her ability to intuitively tune into which one might be most helpful for her. Not overthink which particular properties might be more helpful. Because let's face it, when we have sleep issues, it could be that we have an overactive mind. It could be that we're exhausted and we're just too tired to be able to get to sleep. Could be that we've had some issues with a friend or a companion. So there are all kinds of different reasons why sleep might be an issue. And while there are definitely stones that can help with some of those different aspects of our life, the reality is let's let the kiddo pick out what she is drawn to. And then from there, help her begin to understand how that stone is helping. If the person who wrote this question did not get a chance to see last month's live Q&A replay, take a look and have it set up on the text part of the YouTube channel as to which points different topics are covered. So you might be able to find that way as well. So that's a really good question, and I'm really glad that we were able to start with that. So the next question came in, and it says, is there an easy way to pick stones for the chakras? So while we have talked about that off and on over the past few months, varying depending on which chakra might need support, I want to always honor the questions that perhaps we've talked about before, because now we have folks that are newer to this live stream and this replay. So let's first of all talk about what the chakras are. Behind me, I have this hanging that represents, in a sense, the chakras. We have 7 energy centers. They start at the base of our spine and go all the way up to the top of our head. And they are essentially the colors of the rainbow. So we start with red at the bottom, then orange at that second chakra, which is in that lower abdominal portion, that lower belly. Then we go to the third chakra, which is the upper abdomen. That's yellow. So you can kind of follow red, orange, yellow. Green is at the heart space. Blue is at the throat. More of a deeper blue and indigo is up at the brow, and at the very top, it's often represented either as violet or even clear. And so you can't see all the way up, but it does have that deeper blue for the indigo brow chakra, as well as that violet purple for the very top crown chakra. So that's the chakra column, and I do have a number of videos that address how to work with stones with chakras. I think there's embedded within this question a deeper place that we can explore when it comes to working with the chakra system. Because the chakra system, especially with the system that I work with, also aligns with elements. And so you'll see some videos if you check my replays and my videos on my YouTube channel. You'll see that. But the question here is there an easy way to pick the stone? I would say the easy way, use your colors. And so I've just grabbed a collection of gemstones that really I often will work with for the various chakras. And here's an example of red jasper. Jasper is a very nurturing stone. It is connected up with that lower root chakra. It resonates with more of that red frequency, that hue. And so it can be very instrumental in helping support the work that we're doing within that root space. And when we think about the work we're doing in any of those chakras, first we want to get grounded, and then we're slowly going to move up to the very top of our head, where we're able to become more connected with spirit. So it's a step-by-step process, and it's always a back and forth interflow between the various chakras as well. So you're never one and done when it comes to chakra healing. We're always moving around in and out of balance. It's just the nature of our human physical body. And so we just go with the flow, all right? So red jasper could be really supportive of the root chakra. That second chakra, the orange chakra, sacral chakra, beautiful stone to work with would be carnelian. Very much working with the color scheme now. So you may know aspects of the chakras from different experiences, or perhaps some of the other learning that you've done, or perhaps you've seen me talk about the elements. We're not talking elements now, we're talking colors. And so this is where it can be really helpful. So when it comes to working with a particular stone for a chakra, remember, please, that not all stones are going to feel really lovely. Not all stones are going to give us this beautiful, oh, that's lovely, I feel so peaceful. It's nice when that happens, yet there needs to be a little bit of a jump start in our energy field. It may be that when you work with a stone and hold it and meditate with it and be very intentional about what you're doing with it, you get a little bit of a oomph, and then that's actually a good sign that that stone is beginning to do some work with you. If you experience a kind of like a poof, maybe you feel all of a sudden, just for a second, you feel like, ooh, I feel a little nauseated, or ooh, what was that? You feel a shift, or maybe you just experience a little different sense when you're working with the stone. That stone's done its work. You can just set it aside and let those shifts continue. So this would be this carnelian for the second chakra, which is orange. The third chakra being yellow. I like to work with, here's another form of jasper. This is yellow jasper. There are lots of different yellow stones. You may have absolutely none of what I'm talking about, but you may have a couple of stones that are coordinated, again, color-wise, with what you're looking for. And so in this case, we've got a piece of yellow jasper that can be very, very helpful to work on that third chakra, which is right here, right underneath the rib cage, above the belly button, right in that kind of that pit of the stomach. So I would say yellow jasper, super, super great. Next color up, heart chakra, we can see is a green chakra. And by the way, just thought of something. I have a podcast. It's called Ask, Learn, Heal. And there will be links below this video. I have a podcast episode that talks about the whole chakra system. And so you may find it really interesting to take a listen to that. I also have a podcast about how we can work with gemstones to balance the chakras. So there again is another way that you can get some information about this kind of work that you're doing, which is so great. So heart chakra is a piece of malachite that I grabbed. Again, there are lots of different colored green stones. It could be in green aventurine. You could have a piece of green moss agate. I happen to pull a piece of malachite for you. And when I'm pulling these stones, I want you to know that some of the stones come from my office, my healing office, and sometimes I'm actually demonstrating and showing you stones that I work with my own personal healing. So I just wanted to add that these are stones that I personally work with from time to time. So anything green is going to be very helpful for that heart chakra. So take a look at what you've got. Are some stones that you might go, is this green, or is this turquoise, or is this light green? Don't overthink it. Bring it to your awareness and get a sense of what chakra you feel like you want to work with that stone. Then we are moving up into the throat chakra. Now the throat chakra here is an example. I pulled a piece of chrysoprase for you. You can see that it's not exactly blue, but it's not exactly green. So I wanted to show you this intentionally for the throat chakra, because you may have a stone that could go on the heart or the throat, and that's just great. So I like working with chrysoprase. It's it has a really very gentle energy to it, and very soothing. It would be a good way to describe it. And so often when we're in the process of doing throat chakra work, what we really need to do is kind of soften and let things kind of flow naturally out of that chakra. For the brow chakra, which is a little bit deeper blue, I have a piece of dumortierite. Now, dumortierite, here it is, sometimes is actually very, sometimes my camera doesn't want to balance or focus very well, but sometimes dumortierite is pretty dark blue, and sometimes it's pretty pale blue. Here's another example that this could be a stone that you could work with at the throat chakra because of its blue. And again, we're going through this chakra question from the perspective, from the reference point of the colors of the chakras and matching up gemstones. So that would be an example of what we could do for the brow chakra. And then the crown chakra, there are a couple options. And as I mentioned, often that top crown chakra is associated with purple or violet, sometimes clear or white. Here is a lovely piece of banded amethyst or chevron amethyst. This particular kind of amethyst has both the purple quartz of amethyst as well as white quartz. And so this would be a beautiful stone to work with, because regardless of whether you are associating the crown chakra with white or purple and violet, it would be really lovely to be able to work with. I have also a piece here of quartz. This is a piece of Tibetan quartz. So it's quartz, it's silicon dioxide, and there are some other qualities that come into it just because of the nature of the kind of where it comes from in the world. When in doubt, and you have only one stone to work with, quartz you can always go to, because it is aligned with all of the chakras. It's got that clear quality that moves all the way through. You can always pair up quartz with any of the other stones to kind of amplify the work of the other stone. Keep in mind that when you have a piece of quartz working, here's with the dumortierite, okay? If I swap that quartz out for this piece of quartz, now we have a lot louder dumortierite that's being emanated out because of the amplification that the quartz brings into the equation. So certainly, if I wanted to work with this and hold it together, it would be a very, it would be like having a really large piece this big of the dumortierite. So that's just an extra little piece I wanted to remind you about if you hadn't heard that already, that quartz being a magnifier can really help amp up the properties. So I hope that helps. Again, my approach is let's not overthink things. Let's know what we're talking about, and let's practice what we're practicing with intention and not put the brakes on if suddenly we forget the properties of a particular stone. When in doubt, work with the colors. And I have a video specifically about how to work with gemstones and crystals. So please take a look at that if you're new to crystal healing, because it's more than just grabbing that dumortierite and saying, I hear you're good for X, Y, and Z. I'm going to put you in my pocket and I'm going to have you fix me. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so good. Great question. Checking the chat, nothing there. So this next question really fits beautifully in with what we just talked about. This question says, I'm looking for a stone to work with for the heart and root chakras. Okay, we just talked about those. It could be one stone or a couple of them. What suggestions do you have? Thanks. Okay, so first and foremost, what I'm hearing in this particular question is, yes, we can work with individual stones for the root and the heart, and we just talked about some of that. But also, the key point I want to point out in this particular question is that it could be one stone or a couple of them. Let's bring it back to just one stone, and let's talk more about that connection between the earth and the heart and what that can be about. So back to our backdrop here, red, root, earth kind of related energies. And then heart is going to be green, which is a much more nurturing part of our energy field. And let's face it, if we have not eaten well, we haven't gotten enough sleep, we're really super stressed, it's going to be harder for us to be in a real open-hearted place because we don't have that kind of that grounding. We're not settled beneath us. So when I think about how to answer this question, I actually brought 4 different stones to work with. And I see somebody just joined us, so I'm just going to do something really quick here. Thank you for your patience. Okay. So I've got 4 stones that I specifically brought to answer this question about having a stone to work with both heart and root. And I want you to imagine this. Imagine that out of the earth comes two qualities. One is a very nurturing quality, and one is a very activating and revitalizing quality. So if we think about the nurturing quality, we're going to be thinking about green. So we're going to be thinking about stones that have green in them, because then we can connect with that green energy, that green, nurturing, nuanced connection with the earth. Then we take a look at the root chakra and that red aspect, and that's what connects with the energy of vitality. If we're exhausted, we really need a jump start energetically to help get that life force back on track. And so that's where the red comes in. If we're feeling that we really need some nurturing and some tender, loving care and kindness, that's where we can draw in the green aspect. I like working with stones that have both of those mineral compositions together so that we have a balanced and both and approach of earth and root all the way up into that heart space. So one of the first stones I brought is a piece of unakite, and this is a form of jasper. All jaspers do have a lot of quartz in them with other minerals, so we're going to get different colors. And so here you can see we've got both the green and the red, and I don't want to say rays. It's not that you might have heard of different colors of rays, you know, in some esoteric teachings, they talk about that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about these nurturing and revitalizing energies. So unakite is really a great stone if you have just one stone that you want to work with that will not only work with both chakras, but it gets that root energy up into that heart space so that we can actually show up and be pleasant and be grounded in what we're doing. Here is another one of my faves. You hear me say that a lot, don't you? That, oh, this is my favorite stone. So here is a piece of dragonstone jasper. And again, we've got both qualities of the greens and the reds being pulled up together through the root chakra and then up into the heart. We cannot bypass straight into the heart. We may do heart chakra work alone at our heart, but if we're talking about really bringing up that earth energy into our heart, this is where these types of stones can be super helpful. So I love this one. Another aspect is to take a look at, for example, ruby fusite. Ruby fusite has a lot of fusite, which is very much a nurturing, soft, lovely, calming, nurturing stone. And then also we have the flecks of ruby, which is one of the hardest stones next to diamonds. It's number 9 on the Mohs hardness scale. And so that can be very helpful. And again, we're working with a both and, not just the root, not just the heart, but we're trying to work on blending them together, integrating them. And then the final stone I brought, where I say it's one of my favorites, because it is, it's eudialyte. Eudialyte, again, pulls this deep green, and it has black in it also. And a lot of these stones will sometimes have different minerals that also pull in that black. But this, again, is an absolutely fabulous stone to be working with, integrating that sense of life that we do in human form, and get it up into our heart space so that we can show up and be kind and lovely and friendly. Okay, great question. The next question, it says, I just picked up a gemstone bracelet. Can I wear it right away to help me with my healing, or do I need to clear it first? And so that is a good question. I actually have a little fluorite bracelet here. This is one that I wear from time to time. And so when I picked this up, I cleared it. And there's actually a question about clearing that I want to hold a lot of detail about the clearing for that question. But after I cleared it, then I wore it. It's not going to hurt at all to put that bracelet on and enjoy it. And you definitely will begin to experience the effects energetically. The reason I like to clear stones is that it helps to just kind of reset them. It helps them to shift off all the energies that they pick up along the way, getting from wherever they were mined all the way into my shop or into a store where I might find it and purchase it. I want you to know that all the stones that I carry in my shop, all the stones that I have at my office for sale, those are all immersed in Reiki energy. And so if you are a healing practitioner, if you are a Reiki practitioner, you definitely can do this yourself with Reiki. And like I said, I will be talking about a couple other ways that we can revisit how to clear the stone. There's nothing at all wrong if you just put that bracelet on and absolutely love it and wear it, great. If you want that stone or that necklace or the earrings to be part of a real intentional healing practice, then I would say spend the time clearing the stone, unless you know that they've already been cleared, and from time to time keep revisiting that practice. So I hope that's helpful to you. Again, let's not put the brakes on and go, oh, I have this beautiful necklace, but I haven't cleared it yet. I don't know how to do that and I can't wear it. Enjoy it. It's more than just being about the energy healing. I had a question that said, I saw your post on Rock Talk. What is that? And thanks. I'm glad people are finding Rock Talk. I rolled Rock Talk out a couple weeks ago. It's posted both on my YouTube channel and also typically in social media, particularly Facebook. And I decided that really what I wanted to do is once a week, just roll out a very short video highlighting different types of stones. And so, for example, I have already posted one on pyrite. I posted one on fluorite. I feel like there was another one that I just did a day or two ago, and I've already forgotten because I do an awful lot of videos. So you can find those either on Facebook or on YouTube, and it's just another way that I would like to be able to share some of the information that I've learned and gleaned through experience and study and share it with you. So there is always an opportunity with, not only through this format with this live Q&A call every month, but also if you have a rock that you'd love to learn about, let me know, and I will do a Rock Talk video about that too. So it's just real fun. So here is the question that was asked about clearing stones. It says, can you talk more about how to cleanse stones without hurting them? So one of the things that I think is important to do is to know how to care for your stones, whether it is keeping them in a place where they're not going to get all knocked around by kids or cats or all kinds of extra little hands and fingers messing with your stuff if they're not designed for kids to be playing with them. There is a way to be mindful about how we can intentionally clear the energies and help these stones reset. So let's go back to this piece of granite I found in my yard some time ago. Can't even remember when. It's been around a long time. So I can put this outside in the sunlight and let it be out in the sunlight, just like it was before I brought it indoors. Sunlight works great for this kind of a stone because it's a hard quartz type of stone and it's not going to be affected by the sun or the moon either. So you can do sun or moon. Sometimes people like to actually bring these indoors and then think, well, I'll put them on the windowsill, which is great, but I'm going to show you, here's that amethyst. Amethyst will fade over time if it's in direct sunlight. It'll become paler and paler and paler. It's not hurting the stone, but its properties are changing and the pigments are changing a little bit. So if you have a beautiful dark piece of amethyst, I wouldn't put it in the sunshine. You do it at night. And there was a time once when we were having a particular full moon event that I took all of my rocks outside for the evening and just let them bathe in that full moon energy. And I only did that once because it took a lot to get all my rocks out and a lot to bring them back. And I thought there's got to be an easier way, which really comes back to the question of how can we cleanse the stones without hurting them? And I also think, how can we cleanse stones in a way that we don't have to be so too obsessed with, can this be in the sun? Does this have to stay dry? How soft is this stone? I don't want to hurt my stone. So you can use things like a feather. And this, again, I found out in my yard. I want you to notice I found things in my yard. So those are mine that I can actually pick up and bring into my home. I can't go into a state park and take a rock. That's not ethical. But if you have something that you find out in nature that you're really attracted to, that you know that is ethically okay for you to take, then that's fine. But just don't go to a state park and go, oh, I really love all this stuff and bring it home. It's probably best to just leave those there. So working with a feather is a wonderful way to clear a stone. And when we're going to just work with my hunk of granite here. So if I want to clear the stone, I can go like this, right? And I can be thinking about maybe going to the grocery store and, oh yeah, I got to remember what I have to do tomorrow. And I'm really not giving any thought to what I'm doing. So anytime we're working with clearing stones and crystals, it has to be done intentionally. It means it has to be done from a place of heart-centeredness, stillness, and with the intent that what we're doing is actually being very sacred and having a relationship with the stone that we're working with. So now, instead of just thinking about buying milk and eggs, now I can go into that heart space and set the intention that as I move this feather over this stone, I'm shifting and clearing the energy. And when you do that, regardless of whether or not you're a Reiki practitioner, regardless of whether or not you've had any experience with the healing arts, I bet you're going to notice there's something happening. You may feel it. You may see sparkles. You may hear, literally you may hear, thank you, thank you, thank you. You may just know, wow, that's a clear stone. So begin to touch into how you perceive some of that more subtle energy messaging, okay? That's one, and that's a really nice way to do it. I don't have a match, but this is a stick of incense. So certainly if this was burning, I could move that around and over the stone, and also with the feather in that case too. Now a chat just popped in. The full moon was super bright shining in the house a bit ago. I can't believe that energy wasn't present for clearing stones inside the house. Do you think it's possible? It certainly was my intention. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, when we think about outside and inside, the universe doesn't see it that way, is my sense. And so if it is a full, gorgeous moon, like we just heard here, that is going to permeate everything. It may be that there are some astrological actions going on up in the stars that we may or may not even be consciously aware of, and yet we're very aware of the fact that we slept really well, or we had a lot of super energy overnight and we weren't sleeping at all. So definitely, I'm so glad that that question came in. That full moon does definitely influence us. And I think it just helps us to remember that if we don't think we're affected by the moon, what do you think happens to the ocean and the tides twice a day? You know, so there is this very powerful shift energetically. So working with incense, A feather of some kind can be really helpful. Working with sun and moonlight can be safe. Almost all moonlight always. Sun, be careful with that. I talked about sound. So sound is the easiest because you have a voice and you always have a voice with you. So you don't have to run out and buy a singing bowl or get some tuning forks or pingchas or little chimes. Although if you have those, they're fabulous. But you don't have to run out in order to do sound clearing. I'm going to show you an example of sound clearing, and I want you to make particular note of the fact that it doesn't have to sound pretty. Okay, I hope I didn't, might have been a little loud. It's intentionally using voice to help reset the energetics of the stone. Now, left alone, these stones are going to be fine anyway. They will reset themselves. It's not that they can't take care of themselves, but it is a way for us to be able to be more relational with our work with our stones and the stones that are helping us. I also wanted to show you, as you look here, this is sea salt. And sometimes you will see or read or hear about ways that you can work with salt to clear stones. And yeah, you could do that. I don't. I like to use it for demonstration purposes because it's pretty corrosive that it's not going to hurt a piece of ruby. So where's that ruby fusite here? It's not going to bother the ruby because the ruby is harder than the salt, but it's probably going to bother a bit of over time the fusite in this. So I just don't work with salt. You can work with rice. That you could do. Getting some rice, setting in a bowl, and putting your, if this was rice, I'm not going to set it in there, you know, setting them in there, letting them sit for a while, 12 hours, 24 hours a week, a month, depending on how you feel about it, you'll know. And then just discard the rice, put it out for the critters, compost it, give it back to the earth, okay? I hope that that gives you some ideas, and if anything, remember, you've got a beautiful voice. Whether you think you're tone deaf or not, your voice will do wonders with clearing gemstones and crystals. Any other questions? All right. So here is a really good question. I've heard you talk about using a pendulum to pick out a stone to use. How do you do that? All right. First of all, I don't know if you are familiar with pendulums at all, but I'm going to show you an example of one. A pendulum is essentially anything that is weighted and attached to a string or a chain. So one of the things that I used to do, and I still do from time to time, if I want to demystify what a pendulum is I will take a piece of thread with a paper clip, and then that will definitely demystify any fancy crystal pendulum. So what the pendulum is doing, oh, it works really nice with my black sweater, good. What the pendulum is doing is actually an extension of our own energy field. It's a way to be able to touch into some of the subconscious information that our body holds. And so let's go over here. I'm going to pull out two stones, put them right here where you can see them. I have the unakite and I have the eudialyte. And let's say we are working with that question about the stone to work with for the heart and the root chakra. And now we've got these two stones. We go, okay, now what? What am I going to do? So one of the first things we're going to do, in fact, the first thing you need to do when you're working with a pendulum is you need to know what your yes and your no answer is. I'm not going to go into that now. I know, and I'll tell you that for me with a pendulum, my yes, the pendulum circles in a clockwise direction. and my pendulum for a no answer goes straight back and forth. So I just was teaching a Reiki class last week, and the class was talking about the pendulums and how to get a yes and no answer. And it was really interesting how the variations of the yes and no really did vary between the different members of the class. So we're going to ask the question, and your question should be very clear, and it should be a yes-no question. And I'm going to simply ask the question, of these two stones, which would be the stone that would be most helpful for us as a group who are listening, whether you're listening now or at a replay, that if we were as a group to want to pick one stone out of these two stones to work with for that root heart connection, which would it be? And I'm going to hold it over the Udalite, and I'm going to hold it over the Unakite. And you see, it's telling us that the Unakite would be the kind of stone that we could work with. So now the other thing it's essential for you to know as you're working with pendulums is that we can make it to whatever we want. I'm going to ask it, come on, show me the Udalite. There it is. Because my will always push a pendulum to move in the direction that I want it to go, because we're working with very subtle energies within the subconscious and conscious mind. So, really important when you're working with a pendulum, you need to be neutral. If you're not neutral, if you're asking that question, but boy, you really want to work with the Udalite, it will just get confused. It won't give you, the pendulum won't give you a straight answer. So I would say, work with the Udalite, because that's the one you want to work with, or we can ask the larger question. So not that one, that's the one we would want to work with. Don't currently have any pendulum classes, but it is something that's been coming up from time to time now. So I may be doing a pendulum class, and if that ever happened, for sure I push it out through my webpage and Facebook and newsletter and things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, you can certainly give me a call. I do offer mentoring, and so I've had students and clients set up mentoring times to come in and learn how to work with pendulums, just incorporating that particular mentoring session with that kind of self-care aspect as well. So that is a really good question. So now I have a question here, and I brought a couple of things to help answer this question. Okie doke. Chats, okay. In one of your videos about crystal grids, you talked about the triangle shape. Can you please talk more about triangle energy and how to use it? This is a great question. I'm so glad it was asked, because this is a person who is starting to think about sacred geometry. And sacred geometry is a term that is applied to the kinds of patterns that we see naturally occurring in nature. So you see the pine cone with all of that little spiraling, circling. You see the same type of pattern in the center of a sunflower. You see a hexagon within a honeycomb. There are these recurring patterns, and there's a term called sacred geometry. So one of the things I thought I could do to answer this question is to have you take a look at this particular grid. This is actually a set of my my mini crystal grid set, and this is one of the templates that comes in that set. So I thought this was a good example of, and you're not probably going to see my face as much right now, that's okay, where we can see, grabbing a pen, two pyramids, or actually two triangles. We're going to start with this one right here at the top, and then it comes down here and here. You can kind of see on this particular template, it's got these little black squares. And when you look at this entire template, these little extra geometrical shapes like stars and circles and squares, those are just suggestions for folks who are learning how to create grids. And those are points where they can put different kinds of stones. So here we have that triangle with the apex at the top. This is very much a triangle energy of emerging, okay? It's kind of creation, it's emerging, it's coming up. Imagine it's coming up out of the earth and moving to the heavens. So when we're talking about triangle energy, there is that aspect of bringing that energy up, which is actually a very masculine energy. And so we counter that with another triangle, this time with the apex down here, and it's got the little circle, the little black circle at the bottom apex. That's the feminine, kind of more receptive energy. And you can see when these two triangles come together, there's a very balanced effect that these particular triangles bring together. But working with each one individually, it may be that you are really, let's say, really working with a sense of need to receive more, to be more present and more open. Even if you think about, oh, may the universe grant me what I need. Look at, if we take a look at our two hands and our feet, we just formed a triangle. So it's a very receptive kind of energy, and that's one part of the triangle. And then that kind of downward, if we think about the heavens are here and shining down upon us, we get that downward energy. When working with gemstones and crystals, here I wanted to give you an example of a pyramid, which has a square base, by the way. Okay, let me see if you can see that. Kind of, it's very square. And so it's not quite triangle, but it is as we look here. And so when we have a pyramid that encompasses 4 triangles in that upward creative fashion, you can see that this would be an example of working with a stone that's drawing these properties of this particular gemstone up. This is rose quartz, and a rose quartz is, it's very hard for you to see, I know, with my lighting and everything. This is a very lovely pale pink, and rose quartz is probably the cardinal go-to stone for the heart chakra. I want you to notice, remember we talked green, heart chakra green. There's a higher level of the energy field within which the heart chakra actually turns pink. It's no longer green. It is actually more of a pink energy, and that comes from that red root coming up and that beautiful white of the heavens coming down and meeting in that heart chakra as pink. That's at a different level of the energy field. When we're working with this particular 7 chakra model, what we are taking a look at predominantly is how do we show up physically on the planet as a human being. So keep that in mind. So here, I hope that this is helping you to understand that these triangle energies come up. I don't have any, but sometimes you can actually find shapes that have more of that Star of David, downward and upward triangles merged together, okay? If you were to work with the triangles here, oh, I apologize. There, apologize, thought I had those tones off. If you were to work with crystals and a grid, you don't have to use this whole grid. It may be that you really want to invite in either an expansion and a reaching upward, or a receptivity reaching down. So this is where you could work with stones. And I'm going to set them where you can see. I'm going to take 3 stones. I'm going to use this actually as my wand. And if you're more curious about what I'm talking about with that, you can take a look at some of my grid videos, and we've talked about grids in some of the past Q&As too. But what we would do is we'd set the intention. Let's say that we really want to be very receptive. So we're going to place a stone at the lower apex, then one at each of the upper apex points. Then we can use an activating wand to be able to knit those stones together. So that's a simple way too, that we can bring those triangle energies into the work that we do with our triangles. So I hope that answered that question. So what I would like to do now, well, let's see. Oh, I don't quite understand the last question that was posted there. So if you pop that in there, if you can re-clarify, unless it was just a comment from the other one, from the other question. So what I would like to do, because we have a little bit of time right now, is I actually would like to walk us through a meditation working with the 7 chakra stones. So I would like you, unless you're driving, if you're driving and listening to this, I'm going to ask you to pause and then revisit it when you are in a safe place. But what I would really like you to do right now is to go into a very restful place. Go ahead and simply close your eyes and bring your awareness to your heart space. And bring your awareness to your tailbone. And welcome in the energy and the properties and the gift of red jasper into that root chakra. Just allow it to move into that root chakra with a sensation and a sense of grounding and establishing a sense of connection with the earth. And now, as you continue to hold that awareness of the red jasper moving into the root chakra, I would ask you now to bring your awareness more intentionally to your second chakra, which is in the lower abdomen, and welcome in the energy and the frequencies and healing properties of carnelian. Just notice what you're noticing in that part of your body. And now, as those 2 stones continue to work within your energy field, bring your awareness to your upper abdomen and welcome in the energy and the healing properties and frequencies of yellow jasper. Again, just simply noticing what you're noticing in that part of your body. And now, as the red jasper and carnelian and yellow jasper continue to work, bring your awareness to your heart space. You're welcome in the healing properties and frequencies of malachite. Just welcome to the end. And allow it to teach you something that you need to know. And now, as the red jasper and the carnelian The yellow jasper and the malachite continue to work. Bring your awareness to your throat chakra. And welcome in and embrace the energy of crystal praise. Welcome it in and notice what it is that it is teaching you. And now, as those stones continue to do their work, also bring your awareness to your brow chakra. And welcome in and accept and open to the healing frequencies and properties of dumortierite. Noticing how it is that the dumortierite is bringing new awareness to you and new insights. And now is the red jasper and carnelian and yellow jasper and malachite and chrysoprase and dumortierite continue to do their work. Bring your awareness to the very top of your head and connect with and welcome in and accept the healing, the properties, the energies of the amethyst, the banded amethyst. And now focus on your entire chakra column from the root and sacral and solar plexus up to your heart, throat, brow, and crown, and know that these stones, in even this very short time, are influencing your health and well-being. They are helping to shift and clear and balance, release, and empower you. So be it. Now slowly take a couple of deep breaths. Bring your awareness back into present moment. Wiggling fingers and toes. And thank you for that. I loved that. That's going to be just really remarkable. I'm going to leave these stones set up for a while so that the energies can continue to work with you as well. So I hope you found this helpful. We have talked about chakras a lot and how to work with gemstones and crystals to support that. We've talked about clearing stones. We've talked about pendulums. And keep those questions coming because it's going to be really helpful for me to continue to shape this monthly event by the questions that you bring forth. We will not be meeting next month. We have a lot going on between Thanksgiving and the holidays, and so I will be pausing during December. So actually, the next time I will be offering this live crystal Q&A call will be Wednesday, January 18th of 2023. And so I look forward to being able to connect with you at that time. Of course, you can continue to send me questions about rocks, and if you have any particular stone or crystal that you would like me to feature in my rock talk, again, that's a once a week video is pretty much what that's happening to be. That would be really great. If you need to reach me, whether it is a question related to crystal healing or an energy session or learn more about my online school, you can send me an email. All the links are going to be below this YouTube replay. My webpage is www.fourthdimensionhealing.com. That's a 4th dimensionhealing.com. And so you can get a lot of information there. You can check out my shop. You may have some stones at home that you really would just like to know more about. Check my shop. I might carry those same stones, and you can begin to get a little bit more sense about the healing properties and system with the elements that I work with. Yes, lapis. Yes, I will definitely do rock talk on lapis. I have 2 or 3 of them already in the can, so to speak, and that lapis will be the next one that I record about because I absolutely adore lapis. I wear it all the time, work with it an awful lot every day. Oh, wonderful. Well, I hope you found this helpful. Make sure you reach out with questions either through email, give me a call, chat through my webpage. I'd be happy to reach out back to you. And for now, I wish you happiness, joy during the holidays, whatever tradition that you may follow. And I really look forward to seeing you in the new year. Many blessings. Be well.